All right, everyone. Hillary Clinton's been more active lately, to the extent that she can be at her age. And now she's applauding Nancy Pelosi as, the Führer of the Democratic Party. And she's right. I mean, she's not wrong. The neoliberals control the Democrats, not the so-called progressives, socialists. Thankfully, the neoliberals, oddly enough, finding a group of people worse than they are to actually oppose inter-party. But Nancy Pelosi is definitely the leader. She's, the Speaker of the House. That's the most prominent positions that the Democrats have. The only thing close is Tom Perez. Or Hillary Clinton being the last presidential, nominee, having been Secretary of State, First Lady. She's sort of in that group. Other than that, there aren't a whole lot of power figures in it. But like Chuck Schumer, he does weird shit. And I don't know that he even really counts anymore. Because he's ineffectual. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't lead the Senate. In fact, the Senate, the Democrats lost 2 seats in the Senate net, and they're probably going to lose more fairly soon. So he doesn't really do anything worthwhile. He just sits there and obstructs occasionally where he can because of the voting structure of the Senate. Nancy Pelosi's the one with the power within the Democratic Party. When Hillary Clinton and Nancy Pelosi are sort of the spiritual leaders of your party, then you're a little bit spiritually bankrupt. And this is why the Democrats have problems, because the only alternative right now that they have, it isn't some labor Democrat movement, like a Rust Belt based, like a working class, group that's like, okay, well, the neoliberals have fucked the tax structure. They're too obsessed with, trying to pick away at gun rights and stuff. We're going to leave that behind, and we're actually going to restructure the economy. The problem is the Democrats would have to embrace elements of populism a la Trump in order to actually have that. That's why Trump did well in the Rust Belt. He'll probably do better this time if they're not careful. They choose the wrong candidate, or their candidate chooses the wrong running mate, or any of a million other things happens and Trump goes to re-election. Goldman Sachs, which isn't a group that I particularly like, comes out yesterday and says, yeah, Trump has a narrow, likelihood, like a narrow advantage over the Democrats right now. I think it's more than narrow. I think that a narrow advantage at this point, considering all of the problems he's had to suffer through, I think is a huge advantage. Especially after today with the Mueller report fully dropping there in redacted form. And you know that they're going to do sour grapes again, just like with the initial letter from Barr. And they're going to say, well, Barr and Rose, it's funny to see them throw Rosenstein under the bus, number one, because they loved him before. They're like, he helped get the ball ring. He was the one that signed the FISA warrant without reading it, dude. The Democrats should be sucking him off right now. Instead, they hate him because he says, well, yeah, I have faith in Attorney General Barr. He'll do a great job, and I'm going to be at the press conference, too. It's going to be a great time. He'll be able to address reporters' questions also. Hillary Clinton comes out, scandal-ridden as though she is now, though, and is applauding Nancy Pelosi. And this is why the Democratic Party can't have nice things, because the alternative is AOC. The alternative is Tlaib and people like that, and Ilhan Omar, who say even weirder shit. And the neoliberals have had problems over time. And the thing is, one of the problems they had until recently is, of course, they were called, your far left and stuff, if they had, maybe out their views. Now they've got an actual far left to deal with. Now Nancy Pelosi can't even keep the peace within the party. Now the fact is that a handful of people in the House and Senate does not a gargantuan problem make, but they're very vocal about things. In the social media generation, it's in the best interest of politicians that want to get ahead to be very vocal. Well, then that also means vocal opposition for the inter-party dynamic when you come from a voting district that's considerably different. And so what's happened is that the initial Cenk Uygur, backed situation with these progressives that the so-called that they drafted aboard for their good looks, basically, what's happened is that it's backfired. It's backfired on the Democratic Party because instead it's just become a hassle within the party for people like Pelosi. But Pelosi's still very much in charge. If she has the Clinton money behind her, then definitely there's nobody that's going to really be able to challenge her. The problem is really more ideological. As far as the party's money structure, like the corporate side of things, Nancy Pelosi not only is the leader, she's the only real power source. It's her and Clinton and a few others basically control the purse strings for the whole party. They get whatever they want. But then they have this other group of people where if they screw them too hard, like if they too visibly screwed over in the next election, if they try to get these people primaried, what happens if they fail? Then they've got someone who's not only an outsider within the party, but disgruntled at the party and can really, really fuck with things. Especially when the Democrats almost certainly lose House seats in the next election too. So it's going to be very difficult for them to justify such a move. I think Nancy Pelosi has big problems ahead. And Clinton, her big problem is the fact that she's not in politics. Like, a Clinton out of office is not a happy Clinton. That's why for a while there she got really bitter, and she had to go to India, I guess, she probably had to go meditate and, ask for divine intervention or something. Oh my God, oh, dear Krishna, I don't feel happy with my life. I should be like queen right now, but instead I'm a private citizen. What do I do? And then Krishna came out of the clouds and said, all you have to do is make sure that the other Democrats are eating from your hand, and you can just sort of rule through some of them, including Nancy Pelosi. That's basically what's happening, so it's a very fun time going into the 2020 election now. Yeah, Pelosi's definitely going to have to assert hegemony over the party more, and she's been doing that. Like, when she was dismissive of AOC recently, she's done this twice. First with the New Green Deal, and she's like, well, that's just bullshit, basically. And then by saying, well, it's like 5 people, that was like earlier this week, in regards to her progressive bloc, that probably will grow a little bit more, but then Nancy Pelosi will stomp it back down if she's still Speaker. It's inevitable that will happen because she controls the money. The Democratic Party is not run by people that base their worldview mainly on a broad ideology. It's basically run by people who want a lot of money and power. Because it's a political party, it's a corporation, it's the same as the fucking GOP. For some reason, Democrats are too dishonest to admit that fact. That's about all. Peace out.